from Whistler's, from New Orleans variation, Whistler's Blue, a nocturne. If a man appears alone on a bridge on a snowy evening, walking towards a series of lights in a row of windows, he doesn't necessarily have a future or a past. He is simply a point on a grid, part of a composition that tells us what it is, while implying it is more than it says. We follow him into the night because of the blue. We want to know from whence he's come and where he's going, because the blue envelops everything, but is thin as air, because it's everywhere, like the nerves of an acrobat in pain, and we can hear it asking us to shed our skins and follow. So I'm going to ask you to follow me into the blue. I was at a book launch for Rick Mullen, his lovely book on the Beagle, and it reminded me of an old poem from this volume, Onion, published by Madres Press. It's now over 50 years old, the poems in this book. Channel Fever. This is really based on my getting on a ship in Alameda headed for Vietnam and the Philippines. 65. First, Henry Leghorn, the baker, wearing white shoes, comes up to me on deck and says, "We're really down here, man. You dig what I'm telling you?" Then the chief cook, with a rag tied around his head, pipes up, "We stick together, man. Go out, get drunk together, make whores and everything, man, together." Then the rivers of the world start leading out as well as in, and oil and graphite from the engine room are igniting in my lungs, and I'm leaning on the rail watching our screws kicking up suds, and the galley man from Gulfport, Mississippi suggests someone's added bluing to the motherfucking sea. It's my blue poem. Here's one called The Last Jewish Pirate. And there were Jewish pirates, you know. They hung out.
First and last?
Just wait till you get up here. They hung up around the Baleares, around Minorca. There's a record of them. But this is actually a poem about my brother, who really taught me how to fish. He was a great fisherman. The Last Jewish Pirate. Talking about Brooklyn is like talking about hill tribes riding out of their mountain homes, is like talking about sand from the walls of a desert citadel, or immensity as a fly in your Nimrod ear, a thread through your Theseus brain. Subway to Times Square, taking the Brighton train is like asking which blood is my blood, or your face in the mirror of a gum machine combing your hair is pulling the plug on your Minotaur drain. Spasms. All those boyish nights holding your prick in your hand, or first fuck behind the bridle path in Prospect Park is terra incognita, inked on the old map, or the sea that surrounds it, my brother's face, blue eyes, the way he keeps his thoughts locked in, mare nostrum, waves that break at the shoreline of his skin. I'm going to read a section from my memoir called My Brother's Madness, because I was thinking about my brother and about fishing and about the sea. And this is a section that was written while he was going madder and madder into paranoid schizophrenic delusion. He was in New York, I was in Paris. I had been optioned, my novel The Tin Angel had been optioned. I was there to write a screenplay, but he was calling back and forth between Paris and New York. He was trying to get me to come back. And this is his voice. The blues he's talking about are the bluefish that are running in the Long Island Sound, and the moss bunker are the bait for the blues. He'd moved from New York up to the Sound. "Paulie, it's me. I'm calling from a payphone at Pergaments in Rye. 2 men at the sales counter are eyeing me. One of them said, loud enough for anyone within 15 feet to hear, 'We've got him under surveillance, but we don't have enough evidence to make an arrest.' This morning in the bank, 2 lawyer types in line behind me said, 'We made the bust on the Lower East Side, but moved too slowly uptown. Things work differently on the Upper West Side.' I know they were referring to me. They're mad about my move. They thought they had me pinned down on 75th Street, but I fooled them. Don't give me that stuff about my perception being distorted, and don't play analyst. You want to know who is pursuing me? It started over a year ago at MetPath, and still I don't know who is behind it or why. Does that sound questionable? I know you've made that point before. Why would anyone spend more money and resources pursuing me than the FBI does on catching public enemy number one or Carlos the Jackal? You love that question, don't you? Admit it. It's a stunner. Really, I have no answer for that one. But I don't care what you think. You think I'm crazy? Of course you do. Of course you do. You'd be crazy not to. Okay, I'll be Monty Hall. Let's make a deal. If I find the answer to your question, you'll eat crow. If I can't by this time next year, call out the men in white suits. Until then, I'm going to treat this as real. I'm angry, Paulie. I'm tired of trying to convince people. I'm under a lot of pressure, and I'm tired of this conversation. The good news is that the Sound is boiling with moss bunker. Those little oily fish, what a thing. The bait running before the catch. When the bait comes in, can the blues be far behind? My persecutors are out there, too, in rental boats. They're also on party boats out of Montauk and Sheepshead Bay, drinking beer and calling me names. They're trying to provoke me, Paulie. They give me the finger and scratch their balls. I don't pay attention. I'm too busy pulling in moss bunker. I just cast out my lure and reel. Come back and fish with me, Paulie. Remember who's got the blues.